What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And since 2020, our team has reached out to over 300,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. So we say hooray to that. Also, I'm a featured content contributor to the Indie Soup Media channel. And what's Indie Soup Media? Indie Soup Media is a independent content creators network that's based, I guess, out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, powered by Dr. Tachi. And now we have, I also sit on the board, advisory board. So we have about 27 content creators with more to come. I was in a meeting yesterday with Dr. Tachi and some other team members. And it's probably about 7 or 8 more team members are going to be, it's content creators that are going to be joining the network in the next few weeks. And the reach of that network already is over 1 million people. And also in the last 2.5 months, they have acquired over 10,000 YouTube subscribers. So I'm very blessed and highly favored to be part of that network. Looking forward to more great things. So go check it out at indiesoupmedia.tv.
And that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like, I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. Now, really, the rappers get all the attention. Seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized Black folks.
Like the twerkers and the just people that don't always represent the best of us. The diversity. Like people like Dr. Vibe. Like everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr. Vibe he's trying to do good work for Black people. Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him. The men who are also doing the same thing. I see Dr. Vibe in here. He's a great brother. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. He's a smart brother in Canada, and we need to follow smart people. So follow Dr. Vibe. If you see him in the chat, and Dr. Vibe, say your name in the chat so people can see you. I want you to click on his name, and I want you to go follow him, please, because I want these men and women that are doing the right things to get the support they deserve. Hey, Dr. Vibe, how you doing, brother? Again, like I always do, I got to say everybody should go follow Dr. Vibe. He's got a great show. Dr. Vibe, I know Dr. Vibe's got a kingdom because I see your channel. I see you pouring into that every day. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. Look him up, Dr. Vibe, V-I-B-E. He's a great friend of me and my wife, and I love this guy.
Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. A lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. Helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway,
we have a really good event, important event coming up on June the 1st. And let me just share it with you. It is the Walnut Foundation's 10th anniversary walkathon on June 1st, 2024. You want to support this any way you can, and you can join their 10-kilometer walk. I'm glad it isn't run, but walk, or sponsor one of the participants in support of the Walnut Foundation. For 17 years, the Walnut Foundation has been providing men's health advocacy, guy-to-guy support, and community education. Mr. Henry, I'm going to have you start it off to share a little bit about background about yourself and the Walnut Foundation for our audience.
Yes, thanks for having me on. Welcome to everyone who's joining the call this morning. And thanks to Dr. Vibe for amplifying the work of some of the better resources in the Black community. I am president at the Walnut Foundation. I've been involved with the organization since 2010. Basically, it came to this because I have a strong family history of prostate cancer. I'm one of 4 family members impacted by prostate cancer, and which is a very common disease in the Black community. So the Walnut Foundation was founded by Dr. Winston Isaac and Simon Samuel, with the objective of ending the silence around prostate cancer and encouraging, more healthy approaches to the detection and treatment of prostate cancer.
All right, I'm going to come back to you in a moment, but we have our two new friends on today. So, Mr. Dons, who is at a conference down in Texas, can you introduce yourself to the Morning Vibe Show family and give a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Dr. Vibes. Good morning, listeners. Well, I'm Ivan Dons, the political director of the International Union of Painters and Allied Trade. And I've been a member of a building trade union. I'm a drywall finisher, so I work in construction. And I choose to get involved with the Walnut Foundation and the recommendation of a good friend, Sophie Finley, because of the work they're doing and after attending several members' funeral, I decided that I need to educate my members on the danger of this disease. So right now I'm in Texas because at the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists Convention, and we have a men's breakfast tomorrow where we'll be talking about prostate cancer at the breakfast.
Fantastic. That's great. And I'm going to call AKA the News Hound, Mr. Sean Blake.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Vibe, good morning to you and the other two gentlemen, Anthony and Ivan. I am with Ivan at the very same convention. I am a carpenter by trade, a red steel carpenter by trade, and a member of the Carpenters Union. And I attended the walkathon last year, but I really bought into the organization when it had to do with prostate cancer within the Black community and raising the awareness. I said I wanted to be a part of that. And so it was recommended by Anthony and Ken Knoll that maybe I consider being a co-chair this year for this year's walkathon, and I'm happy to be here.
Oh, fantastic to have everyone here. Anthony, I want to come back to you. Can you give a little bit of background on how the walkathon started?
Well, the walkathon started in 2015, and at the time, it was a smaller, cohesive group of men and their families who were impacted by prostate cancer. There was no funding base per se at the time. So we hit on the idea of a walk that would take advantage of, the nature trails in Brampton, because the group started in Brampton. The trails they're free, they're maintained year round, and it's an excellent place to, go walk, encourage fitness, general fitness. And so we started this walk, and many people who weren't even aware of the trails are beginning to go out now and use the trails. So that was the impetus for it. And we saw this walkathon as a way of raising awareness about prostate cancer. As you know, the Black community is, Black men are 76% more likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer. We are also 2.2 times as likely to die from this disease. So the walk is a way of encouraging fitness, amplifying, and building awareness around prostate cancer, and also getting some funds to do the work of the foundation.
Great. For Ivan and Sean, if you can remember, what was your internal reaction the first time you were brought to attention about prostate cancer?
Okay, for me, the first time I heard about prostate cancer, I was 16 when my grandfather died from prostate cancer. And at the time, men don't really talk about prostate cancer that much. So I know he had prostate cancer and I know he was dying, but it's not something that the family really sit down and discuss and try to educate us about. That's something we need to do when we get older. And then a few years ago, one of my uncle passed away from prostate cancer. And then 2 years ago, I went to 4 of my members' funeral that died from prostate cancer. And the main thing I heard at those funerals is, if he only get tested, he would still be alive today. And that's when I decided that I have to do something about it, because as a member of a building trade union where majority of our members are men, we need to start to have this conversation around it. So that's why I got involved. And when I found out the work that the Walnut Foundation is doing around this, I said, this is the organization I want to be a part of.
Sean?
And for me, just to piggyback on what I was saying, within my household, where I grew up, it was not talked about. And I had to actually ask my mom whether or not any of my uncles or brothers, cousins had been diagnosed prior to me asking this question of prostate cancer. And she said that she could not recall. So again, either we're totally healthy or it is that some of our men are dying, my relatives are dying without having that diagnosis. And when Ivan talked to me about the Walnut Foundation, I thought that this was a good first start for me to help in normalizing the conversation within the community by coming out, understanding the process in getting yourself evaluated, knowing your numbers, and again, as I've always said, try to get this conversation normalized so that it's an easy conversation. And I know that the Walnut Foundation has that process. We just need to expand it, and the perfect environment is in that male-dominated industry, the construction industry. So I'm here to just push that message out to our members, but also to help any way I can within our community to normalize that conversation.
For all three of you gentlemen, maybe not only for yourselves initially, but what reasons do you feel men shade away from this topic?
Mm-hmm. I think a big part of it is, this whole issue of the impingement on your masculinity. The screening for prostate cancer, of course, involves, one of the screening tools is the digital rectal exam, where the doctor inserts a glove finger into the rectum to check the circumference of the prostate to see if there are any abnormal growth. A lot of our men shy away from this. They don't want to hear about it. The other aspect is that we're talking about what goes on, below your waist. So there's that issue. And this whole issue of machismo sexuality. So, a lot of us shy away from, do not want to talk about anything to do with screening, for example.
Yes, I do agree with Anthony, because I have one of my member that passed away. When he was diagnosed the same time with another member that is still alive today. And one of the things, first, he didn't want to get checked. And when it was too late, that's when he got checked, because they've been saying that men don't allow another man to do this. The macho thing about men, and some of them saying they won't be able to have sex if they do the surgery. And I have another member that went on, did the surgery and everything, and he could said all those crap that we are hearing is nonsense, because I have a sit-down conversation with him and he explained everything, the whole process of what happened. And most of these things we hear are nonsense, but we are just listening from other people who are not professional rather than listening to the professionals themselves. So that's something that we need to end that part about us.
For me, erasing that stigma, much like the other two fine guests have been discussing, making sure that men look after ourselves is top priority. To be around longer for your family should be top priority. And that should encourage you to go and make sure you find out and know your number, catch it early, prolong life. That's why we're here, to prolong life and raise families and to be productive citizens. You can't do that if you come to this disease that, if caught early, extends your life. That's why we're here. That's why I bought into this.
You know, Dr. Vibe, just to add, the screening process today has moved beyond just a DRE. You know, one of the things that is done nowadays is the PSA blood test. It's a
Let's talk about that.
simple blood test. And the recommendation for the general population is that you start getting tested at age 50. However, if you have a family history like mine of prostate cancer, then the recommendation is that you start earlier. Also, if you're from a high-risk population, like most Black men, and in particular the ones from the Caribbean area and West Africa, the recommendation is that we start getting that blood test as early as age 40. All right. So screening is, less intrusive.
Yep.
And what's important there is to find out what that biomarker, that PSA reading number is, baseline for each person. Right. And then you monitor every year going forward. So the screening process is very important. That's how I caught my cancer. That's how my brother and my uncle caught theirs. Unfortunately for my dad, he was never screened.
Aye.
Never screened, even though he had a family physician. All right. And so he died at age 68 due to, prostate cancer on there. So screening is key. And, it's one of the things that we do at the Walnut Foundation. The fundraiser we are doing, some of those monies, of course, will be directed to screening. What we've done is to partner with the UHN Princess Margaret Cancer Center and Taibu Community Health Center to do these early screenings in the Black community. And, I'm happy to say that the community is beginning to respond. We've had 3 clinics so far. We are crisscrossing the GTA area with these mobile clinics. The clinics are dubbed PSA Detect and Protect. Our good friends at Princess Margaret provide the screening and follow-up for the men. And, just a wonderful program. And we're just happy that the community is beginning to engage on this. So your support for the walkathon ensures that this kind of screening goes on so we can catch prostate cancer early.
Gentlemen, when we think about this, is this just an extension of men and masculinity, especially Black men and masculinity? How does that come into play when we're trying to get more awareness about this, especially to Black men?
Mm-hmm. One of the things I would say is we have to normalize these conversations. So I remember I had a cousin visiting from overseas a couple of years ago, and we got into this conversation about screening. And he turned to me and he said, about the screening process and the digital exam, he goes, "You do that?" No. Okay. So we had a conversation on there. And so I think it's important to have these kind of forums where we go into churches and, businesses and community organizations and come on shows like this where we talk about this issue. There's no reason for us to be dying at this clip for a disease that's treatable.
Yes, I do agree with Anton because in my older brother in Jamaica right now, I have a swollen prostate, which is not prostate cancer. However, it could turn out to be something worse. And it was he's refused to have a conversation about it. And for me, I'm not a prostate cancer survivor, but because of my family members, like I said, my grandfather, my uncle, I started to have this conversation with my brothers. I'm the youngest of them, but I started to have the conversation with them. And every time I've seen them, I started to talk with them about it. And also, I know you have female listeners. I want to encourage all the women that listening to push the men in your life to go and do that test. Whether it's your spouse, whether it's your brother, your uncle, you want them around. You want them to live a long life, spend time with their family. I believe as a member of a building trade union, health and safety is important. And this is part of health and safety. I want my members to be healthy, that they can retire and enjoy their pension. The pension is something that they work and pay into. You want to enjoy it at the last. You want to spend time with your grandkids. So I want to encourage all the ladies, push the men in your life, go and do that test. Nag them. Don't stop bug them until they go. My sister did that to my brother, and that's how he found out he had a swollen prostate, because my sister keep asking, "Did you go and do this?" No. You're going to, oh no, we don't. I don't. I'm not going to do that. Until he would go and visit my sister, and my sister wouldn't talk to him. She just walk away. Until you go and do a test, then we can have this kind. We can talk. She refused to talk to him, and then he went and do his test, and he found out he had a swollen prostate.
Okay, I was saying, just as Ivan was talking about his membership, we are bringing this education to our membership as well, because we realize that their families also need them to continue to bring the money home, to continue to go out there and fight for their families. They can't do that if they succumb to a disease, as Anthony said, that if caught early, your chances of survival are that much better. I have personal experience as co-chair for this walk. I said to myself, I cannot be co-chair and not know my numbers. And so Anthony had given me a couple of opportunities to go and get my blood work done. I took the second one because I felt the need at my age right now, 54. I should have started this earlier, but I didn't come across the Walnut Foundation, wasn't educated at that time. Here I am now. I know my number. From that result, that first PSA test, I was just a wee bit over 4, but a lot less than 10. They suggested that I come in and do that rectal MRI, in which I said, you know what, it's the next step in my chances of survival. Let's nail this down. Let's get this done. And then I started talking to other members about my test. And that's my attempt to reckon with the fact that you must get yourself tested, but also to start to lead by example, start to have that conversation with other members. So that's the beginning of that normalization. And as I was going through my talks, you hear of other people's issues, you hear of their family, and you don't think that you're the only one.
I want to focus in with Ivan and Sean. When you first initially brought this to the membership, what was their initial reaction?
First, some members did not want to have this conversation in the beginning. And that's why, because I know of a member who is a survivor, I get him to talk about it first openly, his experience openly. So that now start to generate more interest in people want to hear more about it. And then people started to call. And then I also have members who also diagnosed with prostate cancer after that I could refer to the Walnut Foundation for more information. And they are so happy they did, because they're still alive today. They did the surgery, they are alive. But at first, with some members, it wasn't that welcoming, I must say. And it's not only Black, Portuguese also. And one guy said to me, oh, my uncle is a Portuguese guy. And he said to me, my uncle had prostate cancer. You know what? He was I didn't know he died. He had it until he died because he would not say anything about it. He was just telling us that, oh, he's sick from this and he's sick. He have diabetes and all these things that he said didn't make sense. It's after he died, I know he had prostate cancer and said, why didn't he not just tell us what he was dying from? So at first, it wasn't that good, but now I can say more and more people are getting more interested in it because they're hearing more stories of survival. And the more stories we can talk about survival, it's better. That encourage more people to know that, you know what, this don't have to be a death sentence. You can live. A prostate cancer diagnosis is not a death sentence. It can be successfully treated if caught early. And that's the message we have to keep telling.
And for my members of the Carpenters Union, again, our leadership had buy-in because they had family members or themselves were stricken with prostate cancer. And for the most part, when explained properly to the membership, so you're going to have your naysayers, all those folks that aren't quite at that point yet, where they're willing to reflect and take a look within and say, I should know what's going on the interior of my body just as I see what's going on the exterior. But by and by, members came out and supported the walk, and that's going to grow again. And so as long as we stay the course, we will continue to push this further and deepen the roots around the conversation, normalizing that conversation for prostate cancer, right? So it's going to grow.
You know, I just want to add here a special thank you to the union movement for joining the conversation, but not just the conversation, but actually stepping up in an active way by being a top sponsor for the walkathon. The union movement, these two unions, IUPAT and the Carpenters, have been very supportive of the walk in terms of donations, but also getting their members out to be a part of the conversation. And this is what we need to do as a community. The churches, the businesses, the civic leaders, everyone needs to join in and try to help this issue. It's not good enough for the medical system to say, oh, you guys are at high risk for prostate cancer, and then walk away and do nothing about it. All right. So what is happening here, the movement that's growing here, the screenings that's going on, the men who are willing to come to support groups monthly and share their stories should be able to make a dent in these numbers. And that's what this walk and this whole effort is all about.
Is the greatest enemy right now silence and ignorance?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. Huge part of it. There are people who will even come among us and not admit what's going on with them, which is fine. What's important is that they come and that they hear credible information, quality information from men who've gone through the process. But we also bring experts to the table at our events. Urologists, researchers who are involved in treatment and, who can help to dispel some of the myths and provide good information so people can make, better decisions about their health and be more proactive.
Yeah, I think silence and ignorance is definitely have a role to play in that, because if I wasn't involved in the Walnut Foundation, get involved with Walnut, I'll probably have that same stupid mentality like others do, because that's what I grew up hearing. So you start to hear things for a while, you start to believe it and believe that, no, this is not something you should do. And as I said, my son is 21, and I started talking about prostate cancer already. Because he needs to know. I get him to the walk. In fact, I get him to even donate to the walkathon, because he needs to know about it. Your grandfather died. Your great-grandfather died from it. You have a granduncle that died from it. You need to know about this. You need to take. And I always said, if I got, I'm not saying I can't get prostate cancer, but if I die from it, it's my fault because I know enough now to that can save my life.
And for me, I would say within the community, shame and denial. Denial that there can't be anything wrong with the mechanics, that, there's no service work that needs to be done at all. My equipment works. I'm happy. And then the shame part is if in the event I do this test and I find this out, I don't want that to come to light. I'm going to keep it under wraps and thereby not passing on the information and raising awareness within your community. So I see the Walnut Foundation being a champion of speaking up to government on behalf of their community. And I think that as they continue to go forward into the churches, into the organizations, into the unions, they will the momentum has picked up and will continue to accelerate, because men are going to become aware that at some point they need to have a look inside and figure out where we're at, to know going forward, am I one of those numbers that is in that Black community that has an increased chance of that? I think that this is already growing, right? That's what I can say. I can see it. I can say it.
I was thinking this conversation piece was mainly for Anthony, but it may be for all three of you. Have you encountered in your conversations with men about prostate cancer any misconceptions or myths? And if you have, how have you addressed them?
Mm-hmm. So in terms of myths, there's all kinds out there. Some claim it's, men not having enough sex. Some claim it's men having too much sex. Some thinking if you do the operation, that your life will be over, right? These are all myths. There's no research that says it's too much sex or too little sex, for example, right? So being around the experts and the researchers, bringing them in and hearing from them directly has helped to reduce, some of these myths. Now, in fact, when you're treated for prostate cancer, one of the downsides is incontinence. Another downside is erectile dysfunction in varying stages, depending on the person. But your life doesn't end there, because some of these things can get corrected over time, and it's important to know this. It's important to speak to men who've gone through the process and learn from them what they've done and how they've been able to regain their life. We have men in the Walnut Foundation who've been impacted, who are still with us 10, 15, 20 years plus, still living a good life, still involved in intimate relationships. So your life doesn't end with a diagnosis. But we need to address some of these issues, take them head on and explain it through so people understand that, your life doesn't end after a diagnosis.
Yeah, I think Anthony addressed it, so I just gonna skip on it because just what I heard, some of the things that I heard, and I could, by talking to members of people who had done the surgery, I could say, no, that's not true. This person have done the surgery, and this is so. I'll leave it right there.
Sean, do you want to add anything about any misconceptions that you've heard?
I can only reiterate what's been said because those are the common misconceptions. And the more that we're educated, the more we can relay to our members and just, hey, even friends, family, what is not true and what the process is really like. But we have to be educated in that first to be able to pass that information along to erase all that misconception and that stigma.
Anthony, just some questions. Conversation. So, what should people expect to attend on June 1st?
On June 1st, we have, of course, the 10th annual Walk the Path walkathon. The walk takes place in Brampton, 30 Loafers Lake Lane. The center was formerly known as Loafers Lake. It's now called Paul Peleschi Rec Center. So you attend the walk. Registration starts at 8 a.m. We have an opening ceremony at about 8:30 to 9-ish. And then we head off down the trails at 9 a.m. Return for refreshments, prizes, for the kids, face painting. And if you don't walk, but you just want to drop by and, maybe walk around the lake perhaps, or just hang out and, engage with us, you're certainly welcome to do that. If you're not able to attend the walk, you can log on to our website, www.thewalnutfoundation.com. You can get the link there to the fundraising page where you can donate, or you can sign up to join a team or my team, and let's walk. Let's make this happen. Let's amplify the work of the foundation. Let's get men talking. Let's get community talking, and let's make this happen. We don't have to go cap in hand to the system to start to change the outcomes for our community.
Yes.
We could do that right here by ourselves. We start the process and then we engage them.
I have some additional conversation pieces before I let all you gentlemen go, especially the gentlemen who are at the conference. But if you have to go from the conference, fully understood. But I want to ask, how do Black men, since we're all Black men here, prioritize our prostate health in our overall wellness routine? How can we do that?
So, I would say generally you want to eat well. And that goes without saying, not just for prostate health. So you want to eat well. You want to be exercising, have an exercise routine, staying fit on there. And then outside of that, you want to be aware of what's going on with your body. So many of us, we have cars. We change the oil in the car. We prioritize that, okay? We should be doing the same thing for our bodies. And that's how I would kind of look at that. It's no different. Why would you want to maintain your car and not your health? Your health is the beginning of everything. And this is how we build resilient and vibrant communities, all right? And this is about community building. And that's how I would kind of address that.
And okay, the way I want to say is, men, do your annual physical. Go and get your annual physical done. There's something about doctors and men that don't go together. Do your annual physical. Talk to your doctor about prostate cancer. I want to give a special shout out to my organization, the International Union of Painters and Allied Trade, for coming on board. Once I brought it to the executive, immediately they was on board with it. This year, they are the second year straight, they become one of the main sponsors. Last year, there was a main sponsor. This year, we team up with the carpenters. Again, we are the main sponsor, one of the main sponsor again for this one again. We encourage our members now. It's make it a point to encourage our members at the meeting, go and get checked. Go and do your PSA test. I did both of them. I do my annual physical, and the doctor do both screening for me, the digital one and the blood. I also, when Princess Margaret was doing it in Scarborough again, I did it and video so that my members can see that there's nothing to be afraid of. We post it on video for my members. The International Union with head office in Washington also post it on their webpage to encourage men that, listen, Ivan, they did it. This is it. This is him doing it. Nothing wrong with doing it. As a few seconds can save your life.
And I'd just like to say to my organization, the Carpenters Union, that thank you for showing some leadership. Thank you for seeing the value in educating your membership, because educated membership is a strong and vibrant membership. You'll have them around much longer than if they're not educated. And I would insist or ask all the men within our local and all the other locals around the province, especially across the region, that they go and take an interest in themselves. That's called self-care. And we all need to move into that self-care space so that we are around longer. That's on the mental side, and it's also on the physical side.
No, well put, gentlemen. Well put. I think that, and so Ivan, I'm a little bit ahead of you because I go see my doctor every 3 months.
That's great. That's great.
I do not leave my doctor's office without making that next appointment.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very diligent, and I'll even go a step further. I have the same doctor as my dad.
That's great.
They know he knows your history.
He knows, yeah, and my dad is a prostate cancer survivor. So anytime my doctor, and I also want to make men aware, first of all, yes, go to the doctor, but if you don't understand something, ask questions.
So important.
And even if it says that's a good reading, what's a not good reading? Or how do I keep up this reading? Ask questions. You will move ahead in your health journey. Because every man out there, whether you're Black or non-melanated watching this, your health is your wealth. And the fastest way you're going to move ahead in your life is asking questions, especially when it comes to your health.
You know, since you bring that up, one other thing we should add quickly is that the PSA blood test in Ontario is not covered by OHIP. You know, but if you're from a high-risk group, you're supposed to get an exemption. So all that's required is for your doctor to check off on the requisition form, so you don't have to pay that $45 for the test. Right? So if you know that and your doctor, he or she, forgets to check it off, you might want to remind them that, hey, I'm from this high-risk group and I should get my test done for free.
But I do think, if I may add a little bit, I do think the government have a role to play in this also. So I want to encourage everyone to write letters to your MPP and ask them for HOHIP to start to cover it, for PSA to be on your HOHIP card. Because if you have to choose between food and do your PSA, you're going to choose food. If you have to choose between medication and PSA test, you're going to choose medication. If you're in a fixed income, that's what you're going to choose. So by reaching out to our politicians, get them engaged in it, it can help to put it on the HOHIP card. So make it free for everyone. So nobody have to, there's no excuse why you cannot go and do your blood test. I don't have the money to do it. No, it's on your HOHIP card. So write a letter to your MPPs and ask for HOHIP to start to cover your PSA tests.
And if you are an in-person person, you can always walk into your local MPP's constituency office and ask them and let them know that exactly what's been said, that you are from a high-risk group and you're looking out for your community, right? And you'd like to know how they're going to help your community. Would they consider reducing or bringing about policy that captures a lower age group that would be from 40 and above, right? But also, too, let's talk about the fee. Let's talk about the fact that some of the folks in our community can't afford, as Ivan was saying, And we all need to push. We all need to push to make sure that our MPPs understand, so that when they go back into session, they will be able to amplify the voices from their communities that are asking for these tests to be A, free, and B, to a lower age group.
Wayne has a question probably best answered here by Anthony. How does the Walnut Foundation help older single men without access to the internet?
So we do have in-person meetings at times, or the other way is they can reach us to us by phone, and schedule a connection that way. Depending on the situation, we're even willing to meet people for a coffee chat.
Excellent. Also,
is there not also a newsletter, Anthony?
We do have a newsletter, but it's not regular. It's usually centered around particular times, like Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, for example.
I was thinking that folks get on a mail list to receive those newsletters to become more familiar with prostate cancer, and then take it from there and come on in for an in-person to further your questions.
Right.
Wayne has another question. What other cultures are affected by prostate cancer at the same rates as Blacks? Are we collaborating with them?
The higher risk group tends to be our community, but there's also a high incidence in Native communities as well. So there's nothing formal in terms of communication, but we do collaborate through other cancer groupings, such as CCRAN. So that's basically it. Yeah.
The other side of that also too is most changes that have happened in government over our history has come from Black people protesting and asking for change, and this is no different here.
Same thing in policing, for example.
And the other side of that also too is it's the common knowledge out there that when you solve the problems of Black people, you solve the problems of everybody else as well too.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, but before we let everyone go, I have one last conversation piece. Where would you like to see the Walnut Foundation in 5 years' time? I'll let Anthony go last, and Ivan and Sean, you take that, and then we'll have Anthony close it out.
All right.
I would like to see the Walnut Foundation become the biggest walkathon ever. Become the main, just like you have others organization have you heard about the art and show community and how big it is. I think it's about time for our communities to step up and make sure that we have the biggest walk ever. But on the other hand, I may say this. I know it's a thing that's a long way. I would like everybody to get the message around prostate cancer. So hopefully we don't need him anymore, because everybody get the message. But since it won't happen, I would like to see the Walnut Foundation become one of the main pillars in our community for prostate cancer, the organization that every one of us can turn to for advice. When I see places like Princess Margaret collaborating with them, I get to meet the chair of urologists, Dr. Ned Fleshner, because of the Walnut Foundation. So you go to show that they're on the right path, they're heading up. We just have to keep pushing that so that we can break that glass ceiling and become the top organization for prostate cancer in Canada.
I echo the very same sentiment. I see the Walnut Foundation in 5 years. They're already on their way to becoming a central hub in the province for the Black community to tap into for resource and for direction as to next steps when it is that they want to, or finally get to the point where they earnestly understand the importance of self-care, right? And I see that the Walnut Foundation has the experience, and they've got the reach in the medical community, and they're furthering that reach to bring that medical community to our community. So that's where I see the Walnut Foundation in 5 years.
Well, it's on your lap last, Mr. Henry.
It's on my lap last. Okay. What I will say is where we're at today, we're, primarily a volunteer-run, driven organization. And, it's gratifying to have folks stepping up and be willing to share and, provide resources to the organization. And we've been leaning on folks a lot on a volunteer basis. So where I'd like to see us go is to have a support system behind the volunteers. So paid staff, so we can scale our activities. We have an excellent platform, and I think it's scalable. So the issue on there is how do we take it, across the country, for example. And we can't do that without a solid funding base. So I see this the administrative part of it, and we're beginning to start that process. We're transitioning from a volunteer-run active board to a governance board. We're in the process of doing that right now.
It's important.
So that piece is in place. The board over time will change, and we'll have an administrative arm. In terms of some of the specific services, that can be screened, would be, that screening effort, because I think screening has to be a part of our future. Earlier screening, where it's systematized, where it's funded, right? Because we need to catch these cancers, especially the aggressive ones, early enough, right? And if we do that, healthcare in Canada, in fact, will be better. But you can't have a system where you say you have world-class healthcare, but then there's a whole segment that's getting left behind. So the screening piece is important. Research is the other piece that I see us building out. We're doing some collaborations now, so we need to systematize that. And we need to have our own people involved in the research process. These are some of the things that I see us doing in terms of developing the next generation of, Black people who are involved in the treatment and research and care for this disease. We started that process with an endowment at the U of T. That is in place. We need to build on that fund. The idea is that the endowment, the earnings from that will fund scholarships for Black medical students. So we've done U of T. We need to top up that fund. Toronto Metropolitan University is coming to Brampton to set up a medical school. The plan is to set up a similar endowment there and fund that as well, so we can create this new generation of Black medical professionals. We need to see people that look like us when we engage with the system. And this is a multi-year effort in our thought process at the Walnut Foundation. And this is why we want the community on board. Our men tell us, when I go to the doctor, I don't see a Black urologist. In the whole greater Toronto area, there's only one Black urologist. We need to change that. And we can start to do that if we start engaging with policymakers, with corporations, with internal dialogue within our community, so we can leave bequests behind to help fund some of these things. So all this can be tied together neatly by a solid, well-run, well-oiled machine in the Walnut Foundation. And, Black men, I must say, finally, we have to step up. We're beginning to do that. We have to drive this effort. And so this is kind of where I see us going in the next 5 years.
There is the information about the Walnut Foundation website, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Here's the link if you want to donate to the walkathon to join a team or create your own team. Again, that's in the comments sections on all the platforms except Ryan's. Yeah, LinkedIn on what you want to get out of that organization. All right, everybody, that is another epic conversation on the Morning Vibe. Loved you being here. Obviously, Ryan could make it. I guess he had to walk the kiddos. So that's all good. It's all good. So let's start calling it a conversation. So how are we going to finish up today? As always, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. Hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To advertise your business, product, and service on the platform, please email me at dr.vibe@thedrbeshow.com. Also, join the Discord group where we keep the conversations going in between. Please email me at dr.vibe@thedrbeshow.com. What else? Let's say website. If you want to get a hold of Ryan, RyanO'NeillKnight.com. LinkedIn, Ryan O'Neill Knight. Instagram, at Ryan. See, I got it right now. Ryan.Knight99. And his email address, work with me, Ryan at RyanO'NeillKnight.com. If you want to get a hold of me, here is all the places. Website, the drbeshow.com. YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show. Instagram, The Dr. Vibe Show. X/Twitter, at drbeshow.com. Email address, dr.vibe@thedrbeshow.com. And as I take it off, here are all the places you can watch the replays, the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook, Afro-Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, and Ryan O'Neill Knight, YouTube and LinkedIn. So let's call it a day. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller, get stronger, block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith walk good, and we'll see you.